So I was thinking a little bit ago about how in love we all learn lessons from love in different ways. And I was just thinking about how the person who stays in a toxic relationship for X amount of years, like way longer than they should, is no different than the person that walks away from a relationship but constantly gets in new ones, getting back into the same cycle. Like, a cycle is a cycle regardless of how it's played out. And I think it's so weird how there's this energy of well, why don't you just leave, with toxic relationships and women or men staying. And the same thing could be said about, well, why do you keep going to numerous people? Why do you keep getting into new relationships constantly? It's there's no difference between someone who loves really fucking hard and just loves one person to where they're gonna tolerate disrespect. They love this person more than they love themselves, so they stay. It's no different than a person that constantly is looking for validation and distraction in different partners. Just because a person leaves a toxic relationship, that doesn't mean that they're getting through the pattern. And nobody has the right to judge anybody for anything. But it's just why is there this weird thing in society about women who stay in, or men who stay in abusive relationships when there's people who also don't stay in relationships, but they constantly are getting into new ones? It's the same dynamic. It's a lack of self-respect. And it's not fair that people get judged for how they go about their lives in staying in situations. And it's if you are the type of person who has stayed in a really toxic relationship because of how because of how hard you love, that there's nothing wrong with that. That is beautiful. We are all learning our lessons in different ways. And it's the person who has a bunch of new partners and new connections is no different than the person who stays with one person and is in a living hell. You're both probably living a hell. You're both probably missing something within that's causing us to live like this in terms of love. And it's once you really start loving yourself enough to realize you don't need anybody to feel whole and complete, the relationships that don't serve you stay away. And you stay in your own lane until the dynamic and connection that's meant for you comes into your field and your path. And you got to work on your self-love to be able to get there. But it's no different than the person who stays versus finding a bunch of new relationships. What the fuck? We're all the same.